Share your knowledge. It is a way to achieve immortality, the Dalai Lama once said. And rightly so, as only by sharing thoughts and ideas we can discover new things together. Hello, we are Amit and Daniëlle, founders of heygroentje.nl. Through heygroentje, our mission is to introduce people to the amazing vegan Indian cuisine and to discuss topics we find interesting with a wider audience. Today's topic is our journey to veganism. We plan to answer in the podcast questions like how did we both get to know about veganism and when? How long did it take for us to transition to a fully vegan diet? And if we think veganism can solve world problems and what kind? So I would like to welcome my beautiful wife, Daniëlle. Welcome on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to have this podcast. I think we have nice topics to talk about, to discuss. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and this is also our first podcast where we really discuss a topic in detail, and we talked about it, that what topic we want to choose, and because veganism,
for sure the first one was veganism.
Right, because it's so close to our heart, everything that has to do with this topic. And we really felt more at ease choosing this topic as our first real podcast. So I'm curious, like I think let's just get started with it. I would like to just ask you what got you interested in veganism, when you got to know about it, and just before we met, after we met, just the floor is yours.
I always really like to tell this story, and I think because people can relate to these kind of stories, so I always like to tell. And if I go back in my memory, when do I really started with veganism? When did I got to know about it? I have to go back to 2014. I went with a group of people to Malawi to do volunteering work, and in our first day, maybe the second day, we had to go to the market to buy our own food, to get to know the local people, to get to know the area where we were living. And we went to the local market and we had a whole list of groceries. And one of the things we had to buy was chicken. And growing up in the Netherlands, you're going to the supermarket, and when you buy meat, you don't really see the animal. It's just a package in the supermarket. And especially if you're really young, you don't really relate to, this is chicken. Mm-hmm. It's just, you just don't see it, so you don't know.
I was also surprised about it, like coming from India. There, I remember my first experience buying chicken. It was like, because in India, I was raised mostly in a vegetarian family. But at some point, my father has diabetes, and because of that, the doctors recommended him to eat some fish and chicken soup, for example. And these, at this point, I think that these are just myths. I was sent just to get some fish and chicken at points, and there I really saw the animal being killed in front of me, and there were also points when some blood of the animal even came on my clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was really surprised when I came to Netherlands that there's such a big gap between when the animal is killed and how it is presented to people.
But was it for you the first time that when you went to buy chicken you saw that happening, or also in India you just see it on the street?
I saw it on the streets, but at that point I was like, say, not even 15, and I couldn't grasp why those chicken were being killed. But the moment, the real moment came for me when I knew that this is an animal or the body of the animal that I will take home for my father to consume. then I realized that this is something wrong, this is not ethical. Then it really struck me.
Yeah.
But go ahead with your story.
Yeah, for me it was the same. So we had to buy the chicken, and I remember that some people were really excited to buy the chicken, to hold the chicken. And I think for the whole group, I think we were with 20 people, we bought, I think I have to lie now, but I think 4 chicken in total.
Yeah.
It can also be 3 or 5, but around 4 we
just
had
for the
to
whole
buy.
group.
Yeah, for the whole group. So some people were holding the chicken, and we walked home from the market with the chicken that was still alive. And we had to cook. It was a whole thing with the group. We're gonna cook together and we're gonna eat the chicken.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then we have to kill it. And they asked us, the cooks, like, who wants to kill the chicken? And I thought, no way, I'm gonna do that. But I also felt at the same time, I'm eating chicken, so I have to look at this.
Yeah.
That feeling I had really strong. If I eat it, I have to see it, because that's how it happens. So I didn't want to do it, but I stand there to look. And I remember after the first chicken was killed, I had to walk away. I couldn't see it. I remembered I cried a bit and I was really sad. I just really felt it, the pain. And even if I tell the story now, I get a bit emotional because I really remember that moment. And I walked away and I thought, I can't see this, so I also shouldn't eat it. So that whole trip, I didn't eat any meat, nothing. But then I came back to the Netherlands and I didn't see the chicken anymore, just the package in the supermarket.
Yeah.
So I started to eat chicken again. Less. From that moment, I realized that what I was doing was not good. But because in my family it was so normal to eat it, I started to eat it again.
Yeah.
Less, but still I was eating it. But I think this is really where my eyes were opened to see how things are going, how it really works. Because in Netherlands, what you're saying, also in India, you can see it. But in Netherlands, it's all really, it's just hide, you don't see it.
Right.
But my eyes were opened, and slowly I started to eat less meat and even more less meat. And I think when I was 19, so I went to Malawi when I was 17.
Yeah.
I went back to Africa when I was 19, and I went on a longer trip just by myself. And I decided I'm not gonna eat any meat now. From now on, I'm really stop eating meat. And I was 19, almost 20. And that whole trip in Africa, 2.5 months, I didn't eat any meat. And it was so easy for me to just let it go.
Yeah.
So coming back to the Netherlands, I also was kind of strict to my parents, like, now I really stopped eating meat. I'm not gonna eat it anymore. It was a bit difficult and my food was a bit boring because I still didn't know really how to eat nice food then without the meat. But that is how I became vegetarian.
Yeah.
And slowly also I got to know more about the industry, I watched movies, documentaries, I just read more about it. And also what was really nice, in that time I was traveling a lot and I met a lot of different kind of people, also people who were vegan. And I was finding that I was finding it really interesting to hear more about. So slowly I just went to more eating vegan.
Yeah, and that was the time when the movement was also picking up. I think it was around 2014, 15. Yeah. Little bit over 5 years back. And it's I would not like to say it's a beautiful story, but it's a beautiful end to it because you really realized that where the meat comes from. Yeah. And you could make a conscious choice yourself. Yeah. If this is for me or not.
And I also think we should. Some people would find it a bit. Scary or sad to tell children where really their food is coming from.
Right.
But I think it's really important to tell people where is their food
Yeah.
coming from. The meat, the vegetables, everything.
Yeah.
But where is it coming from? So
Yeah,
you can make a decision.
There's a reason why we don't take children
Yeah.
to the slaughterhouses, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
because it's a traumatic experience, and we want to just
Hide
create
it.
as much gap as possible between
Yeah.
the production, or production sounds an easier word, just inhumane slaughter of animals for our consumption. We just want to stay as far away from it as possible, because as humans we are inclined to be kind to other species, to be kind to other living beings who are like us, and that love that comes out from within towards these animals.
And that's also what I had when I
Right.
saw it. I felt that this is not right to do.
Yeah.
But your story is completely different than mine.
Not exactly. Well,
It is, right?
It
You
is,
grew up
yeah.
in an environment that is more vegetarian friendly.
Yeah, I more wanted to say, because I heard something about documentaries in your story, so that part is pretty similar, because of course my journey started at the point when I had to get chicken or fish myself. I had to pay for someone to kill it and bring it home. At that moment I realized that is something wrong. But it continued to happen. I just kept going back for a few times, and after that I realized that this is not really something that I support.
But did you eat it yourself at that time?
I tried it, yeah. I did. I tried it at some points, but of course it was really, really less, and it gave me a bad feeling every time I ate it. Like, I didn't want to eat it for a month or maybe a long time, and I was always thinking back to the memory when I went to take it, and that
Also
that animal
really
was
saw
killed.
the
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah, it was really within it just didn't feel good. But then I stumbled upon a documentary by now he's at that time also he was a very known doctor, Michael Klepper, and the documentary is called Food That Kills, and that I watched I think in 2010 or 11, so it's quite a long time
quite
back.
early,
I didn't finish high school. I think at that point I watched it, so around the same time when I was going to get chicken and fish, paying to get it killed, and bringing back home the dead animal. So in that documentary, like it really opened my eyes, and really opened my eyes to a lot of different things that I didn't even think about, to even dairy, for example, that is such a big part of the Indian culture. Growing up, we were mostly vegetarian. We in India has the largest percentage of vegetarians in the world.
Yeah, and your mom never eat meat.
Right,
She is
no.
like her whole life vegetarian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that also had an influence on me, and it's the documentary just made it so evident that why I need to stop. It was in my mind, I already had the ethical part of it, but as a kid, I would say till then, or a teenager, I was not really able to make my own decision at that moment. Like, I just went into it and I didn't know, I knew somewhere within that it was not right. But the documentary, it really opened my eyes, because if I have to summarize it, like, it talks about like the health effects of a diet that is rich in animal products, just animal protein, that is. It can be just milk from cows, it can be cheese. In India we have paneer, for example, that is cooked on a regular basis. It was one of my favorites. It still is one of my favorites. I don't consume it because I have found an alternative in tofu. You can make your own vegan paneer also at home nowadays. So it was quite difficult. But I try, like in the documentary, they talked about like how that leads to, for example, a lot of diseases. That if you're eating a diet rich in animal protein, you have more risk of getting heart disease. I remember a portion from the documentary where the doctor talks about a client whose main diet is like hamburgers, fries, milkshake, and then he comes for a blood test, and then they check his blood and they see before they check your blood, they will always, you have seen when they take a sample, they always shake it.
Yeah.
And when they shake it, they leave it for some time, and then if your blood has a lot of fat, that will always come to the top. And that is like just a different color. It's like a bit whitish, and it's like creamy. So that is exactly the fat that you're consuming, the high protein like that your body doesn't need, like all the animal fat and all the cholesterol that is there that comes in your blood. And the doctor asked the client that, what did you have for breakfast? And he talked about all the eggs that he consumed and all the meat with bread and with milkshakes. And last night he had like ice cream, for example, and that all he could see in the blood. And I didn't want all that in my blood, because I know this, especially at a young age, but also later, at any time in your life, you don't want your blood, you want to just see your blood as blood. Yeah. And that is also good for you. Like, even though you don't study to be a doctor, you know it is not good if my blood is thickening. If my blood looks like that, then it's a recipe for disaster.
But you saw this documentary in 2010,
right?
Like the things you're talking about now, did you realize this directly and thought, I don't want this, or did it came later? No, it was a bit on and off for me, because in India, from that point, I stopped eating meat completely. Even you didn't eat it that much?
No. Then I stopped completely, but with dairy, with paneer, and I stopped drinking milk also, like after high school, before high school, just like in Netherlands. In India, like mothers were giving a glass of milk before you go to school, before you go to sleep. Like I was drinking a couple of glasses of milk every day. I stopped with that directly. And I also saw improvements, because I was having some stomach problems when I was young in school, and I really didn't know where they were coming from. And the moment just before leaving school that I stopped drinking milk, that went away. I'm not lactose intolerant, because I can still I don't really get into troubles, but if I drink really a lot of it, then I get into trouble. I read about, like in the documentary, that how you can get like different kind of cancers through eating meat, like cancer of the colon, breast cancer, prostate cancer for men, and how it is not good for your bones, because when we grow up, we are told that drinking milk is good for your bones. But that is really not true, because it's proven by science, and the doctor also says that too much protein is also bad for you, because that will drain calcium out of your body instead of keeping it in your body. And you see it also in many populations. You see, this is all from the documentary, by the way. You see in Western countries, you see in Netherlands, like cases of osteoporosis, that is the disease of loss of calcium in your bones. That is more in societies which are drinking more milk. And you pick up countries like Thailand, China, for example, where there's very little dairy consumption generally, especially in rural areas, and they have absolutely no cases of osteoporosis, that is the loss of calcium in your body. I had high blood pressure, for example, that went away after stopping drinking milk, and the little bit of chicken and fish I had. So it was, for me, it was ethical and health reasons at that moment. And then I came to Netherlands. Here also it was quite difficult, because I didn't know how to cook, and sometimes unknowingly, just like you, I would just eat something that contained milk or that contained some meat. And because it was also a bit familiar to me, the taste of fish and chicken, and I was not close to the process. I had it initially. I would say it was also just trying out new things in a new country, and a lot of recipes here contain it.
And was it also because you met new people here in Netherlands who were maybe eating those things, so you felt like, oh, I also eat that with them? Yeah, that also. And then in 2015 I came here in September, and I think in December I watched the documentary Cowspiracy, where the scene where he's taking home a chicken, like he saved the life of a chicken. Then I always imagined myself that I could also be that person when I was young, that instead of, I would pay for the chicken, but instead of a dead chicken, I would take one alive home and care for it, and maybe sometime let it free, or just care for it, let it live its life. And all the facts in the documentary about health and environment, mostly environment, because the documentary talks about your consumption of meat, how it affects the environment. Then the environmental pattern came. So for me, all three, the ethical, health reasons and environment reasons, are equally important for choosing a vegan diet. Yeah, so that was my part. And I'm curious, like you talked about a documentary. Which documentary did you see which really had an impact on you? Yeah, I didn't see the documentary you talked about, the first one.
Yeah.
But I just said when I started eating vegetarian, at that same time I had some problems with my health. I got an infection, a food poisoning, and after that I got to know that like there is some things in my food I cannot eat anymore. But what, I didn't know. I went to a lot of doctors and even they couldn't tell me what it was, but I was sick for quite a long time. Yeah. And in that same year the documentary What the Health came out.
Oh yeah, that's by Kip Anderson, his second documentary after Cowspiracy, right? Yeah,
so I didn't watch any other documentary before that. No. So I was vegetarian and I got sick, and I felt, I don't know why, but I felt it had something to do with the food I was eating. So this documentary really came out at the perfect moment for me. And I watched it and I thought, maybe if I start eating vegan, I will also feel good again. Yeah. And so I just start learning more about it, and in the end it helped me because I got to know that I had a lactose intolerant. I never had it before in my life. Maybe I had, but I don't know, I never had problems. But
I'm a fact guy, you know that. Like I really like to bring out facts, but did you know that like 70% of the world population is lactose intolerant? So we as humans, or any other species in fact, are not designed to drink milk or consume dairy from other animals once we are
growing older. When we're not a baby anymore.
Right.
So I think my whole life maybe I was not reacting that good on it, but I never noticed it. But after I got the food poison, something really happened in my stomach, in my system, and I really cannot drink milk products anymore. And so I'm really happy this documentary came out at a good moment for me, because I realized that maybe it can help me to start eating vegan. And
how long did the transition take for you? Because I see shades of like just figuring out that you have to move towards veganism, and it's a process. It started way back in Malawi for you. But when was the point, like how was the journey like?
I think what I said, in 2014 I realized that meat is not good, but in 2017 I really became vegetarian. So that took me 3 years to stop eating completely. In that time I wasn't eating a lot of meat, but I stopped completely. And from 2017, when I was really vegetarian, I started to think about veganism. And maybe nowadays I sometimes even say even to you, like, maybe I was a bit lucky to get sick. Because of that, I got more into veganism faster, I think. Because in the end, I think I would always, go for this. Yeah. But now it took me a bit faster because I couldn't eat those products anymore. Yeah. And I remember even, and sometimes I can get a bit angry about that I went to a dietitian and we got to know then that I couldn't have those products anymore. Yeah. And she gave me a pill. She said, if you take this pill every day, then every day you can
continue having the products and without any consequences, for example.
And it made me a bit angry because I thought, if my body don't want it, why should I force myself to have those products? Yeah. I have those pills. I still have them because once in a while it happens that, by accident I get a little bit of milk. And then I'm really happy I have those pills. Yeah. But I didn't feel like taking them from the beginning every day because I thought, if it's not good for me, I shouldn't eat it. So also for me, it started for the animals. And later my health also came there and the environment. And now everything is as important for me. Yeah. But to come back to your question, how long did it take for me? Yeah. From the moment I knew I cannot have milk products anymore, I think from that moment I also was vegan. Yeah. And I don't want to say vegan because vegan is wider. Right, it's plant-based. From that moment I was plant-based. Yeah. And from that point, slowly, I started to get more interested in, all the other things. Yeah, and it just opens a new world to you. Like once you realize that you want to change, and nothing is wrong. Like you don't have to directly give up everything. Sometimes, it's just we as humans, we are just, we get used to things, and it is really difficult to transition. But if you realize that you realize that something has to change in your life, you need to transition from the path of cruelty or for your health purposes, and you take things step by step. That's also right. Like there is no right way of doing it. Yeah, and even we still make mistakes sometimes. Right. Yeah, so it's not, and that's mostly is unknowingly. Yeah. And that's okay. That's also okay, because if you're doing your best, that's what it comes down to in the end. Yeah, that's the most important. Right. And I'm just curious because you mentioned it. Like I would like to move to the next question because also like keeping an eye on the time. Like, how difficult was it for you? Like. As far as it goes with family or social pressure to go vegan, like in the Netherlands? Social pressure, I can say directly I had no problem with that. But with my family, it was a bit more difficult. Yeah. I come out of a family where eating meat and animal products is normal. It happens every day. Yeah. It's seen as part of the culture also. Yeah. Yeah. And it seemed also something like, it's good for you to eat those products. Yeah. And when I said to my family I don't eat meat anymore, it was difficult because I was living with my parents and my mom was preparing food every day, and for her it was okay, what to do now? Yeah. When we were in Netherlands, we eat a lot of potatoes and vegetables and meat. Yeah. And then I could really leave the meat out. It was really easy. But when my mom was making something where the meat was in the food, that I couldn't take it out, that was a bit difficult. Yeah. But slowly we just find our way, and I was at an age where I started cooking more also. Yeah. So that was kind of a necessity that you had to learn cooking more different varieties of food that can help you get just have other options for dinner, for example. I just had to find a way in that. And But veganism, that was a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Because that was way more difficult to also explain, because it was so normal to have.
Especially in the Dutch culture, like the importance of milk, cheese, dairy, vla, that is like, there's like flavored yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, it's just ingrained in the culture so much that it's difficult. But yeah, then we met. That was in 2017, and from that moment, like, we started living together also quite quickly, and then it went easier.
Yeah, when I moved away from home, it became easier because we started cooking together our own meals. For me, I even explored all the options that were there, because I was finding my food really boring. I left the meat out, but I didn't replace it really. So it was really boring.
It's quite funny that in your life you didn't eat Indian food never before meeting me, and once we met, it was almost every day. Yeah. It was a daily affair.
It was really my favorite kitchen directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so happy to explore something new, and I really realized with the Indian kitchen that you don't miss animal products.
No.
I really didn't miss it anymore. So from that point, it became really easy for me to go for a fully vegan diet, because I didn't have to miss the food anymore I was eating before.
Yeah, that's right. And we figured it out also together, because till that point, like, I was also not even 2 years in the Netherlands, and I didn't really know I came from a bubble in India where I was used to eating Indian food, and I realized what I was really missing once I left it, especially because I wanted to follow more vegan diet. And I realized that it's one of the best suited to a vegan diet. At least I think like that. I know that you think like that as well. And we figured it out together, because you hardly miss anything. You have grains, you have lentils, you have legumes, nuts, all fiber that you want. And
all the spices that are there that make sure you have a good...
The spices are like the cherry on the on the vegan pudding.
But it's really true. Yeah, because when we met, I think we were both in the transition to, we are vegetarian, but we want to know more about veganism. Yeah. We want to go more to a vegan diet. So we really had we had a lot of conversations about it. I remember on our first date, we talked so much about veganism, and we were not even vegan, but we were so curious to learn more about it. So it was a really nice, a nice thing to explore together.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm really happy that it's also kind of our work to to cook and share recipes with a wider audience, and we really like to do that because we get a lot of happiness out of it, that people figure out new ways of going vegan, having all these amazing spices blended together in different kind of cuisine, especially the Indian cuisine, that they can have alternatives, and that would mean more and more people choosing for plant-based diet rather than meat and dairy. So that kind of brings me to a wider question, like, do you think veganism can solve like some of the world problems, and what kind of problems do you think that it can solve?
Yeah, I find it a difficult question, but I think for sure it can solve for sure I don't want to say, but it can solve the hunger in the world.
Yeah.
Because what people don't realize is when they are eating meat, that the animal also needs a lot of food to grow.
Right.
And a lot of times I hear people saying, if they see like a sad commercial on TV where people are having hunger, they say, I cannot do anything about that. And of course you cannot solve that for them directly, but indirectly you can do a lot of things. For example, stop eating animal products.
Right.
Because the animals, they need so much food, and why not eat the food directly?
Yeah.
Why don't leave the animal out and eat the food directly? You can grow so much more.
Yeah, it's a very inefficient process because you are first feeding the animal a lot of food and water. Don't forget that.
Yeah, don't forget that.
And a lot of energy to get the whole system running, like have a farm, for example.
Yeah.
And the biodiversity that you're killing because you're using so much land, which at one point used to be part of nature, where the soil was healthy and there were different kind of crops growing on it, like just plants from the nature that have now been destroyed just for grass or for areas for cattle to graze on or just to feed. And all this food, like it's quite crazy that 70% of the grain that is grown just in the United States, that is used to feed livestock. It can be used to feed humans around the world.
It's so many humans also.
Right, yeah. If we were, like, it's crazy, if we were 2 times the world population at this moment, and most people chose to eat mostly plant-based, so I'm saying mostly, not even completely, we would have even extra food over for a couple more billion people.
And of course, you don't know if like everyone start eating plant-based, if the food comes then at the right spots.
Yeah.
You still don't know that, but it can.
Yeah.
Like we can grow so much food for humans that no one has to live in hunger.
Yeah, and I also sometimes have arguments, but I also kind of understand it, because if you are being attacked, you feel attacked sometimes when you are doing something that is morally wrong. You feel that people are attacking you, that you don't need that much space to grow vegetables or fruit or grains or lentils, for example, because 83% of all the farmland globally is set aside to raise animals. If we don't need animals anymore, those animals actually don't have to exist. And because of that, we have 83% of land to grow so much of more food that is really meant for humans, and that is so much more nutritious, that is so much more tasty if you use it in the right way with spices. So if you have just potatoes like in the Dutch culture and mashed with a little bit salt and pepper, that is not really vegetables. So
but a lot of people, they also use the argument then, then those animals would not live anymore.
Yeah, that's right, but they were not meant to be there in the first place. And people forget the 98% of biodiversity, both plants and animals, that we have as human species, we have got rid of, or we have kind of made sure that they don't survive, because biomass or biodiversity, that is the rest of wild animals and all the species around it, anywhere from bees to plant species native to different continents, to wild animals, tigers, elephants, their numbers have gone down at the expense of farm animals that we consume. So what do we choose from? Do we want just the wildlife back, or we want to keep growing and animals for our consumption that is also impacting the climate? So it's a bit double. Of course, the solution has to have an ethical end. So if imagine in a really in a utopia that people stop eating animals all of a sudden, so you have all these shelters for animals where people can go take care of them till the end of their life. They don't forcibly impregnate them, what they do at this moment, because they have to really be cruel to and a cow gives milk only when it's pregnant. So cow has to be made pregnant multiple times in a lifetime to make sure that she has milk, and once she cannot do that, then she's sent to the slaughterhouse. So everyone knows all those stories around like dairy farms and all. Once it's not happening and they are not supposed to be there, then we can focus on things that really matter.
Yeah, I agree to that. And maybe to finish off a bit, because we talked so many, I think we can talk for hours about this.
Right.
But maybe, do you have a tip? Like, what is your best tip for people who want to go vegan?
My tip is just give it a try. It's not as difficult as you think, because most people have been eating majority of the time a plant-based diet anyway, so they shouldn't treat it as a label or as something like hip or a new concept. I think it's a mistake that needs to be rectified, that yes, this is vegan, this is not. 90% of the things that people are eating, even people who eat meat on a regular basis, they have to eat like plants to survive. So it's not rocket science. In the supermarkets nowadays, they have to, like, they are labeling things more as vegan, and people are realizing, oh, this is also vegan, but it used to be vegan in the first place as well. And if you leave out that 0.1% milk powder in it, it is vegan. 99.9% is vegan anyway. So it's not difficult. And I think if they are more open, if people are just a little bit more open to trying out new dishes from new cultures, experiment with spices, for example. People can make their own spices at home, and there nowadays, with Instagram, there's so many recipes available. They can go on our Instagram at heygroentje, and we have quite a few recipes that they can start with. And there's so many other people who are doing tremendous work in setting these simple, easy to make recipes online that don't cost a lot of money and are good for the health.
Nowadays it's not difficult anymore to find vegan recipes online.
No.
And where some people might think that they are really difficult and a lot of work, that's also not true. It's like there's so many easy, simple recipes to find.
Right.
And my tip is really, it's okay to make mistakes. You hear our story today, and you could hear that for us it also took some time, even some, not weeks, not months, but years to go from eating meat to being fully vegan. And even now we still sometimes make a mistake, that we think that something is vegan, but then
but the important part is to rectify it, to be open enough to try to figure out where your food is coming from. That's anyway really important, because maybe in some later podcasts I would like to talk about also the food systems that we have in the world, that how messed up they are, and till the point that food reaches to our table, what happens to it, and how it's produced. There are a lot of problems with pesticides and things that are really bad for the biodiversity in general. But that's for another moment. But it's just to be open enough to realize it and to choose for things that are morally right as far as you can. Because of course we need food to survive, and we are not living in the times of hunters and gatherers that we roam around to get whatever we can. Plant-based options are aplenty, they are everywhere. We are not living on the Arctic or the Antarctic that we really need fish as our main source of
we can
food.
Find everything here that we need.
Especially in a developed world, I would say it's not that difficult, and just give it a try. It's good for your health, it's good for the environment, it's good morally and ethically.
But if you're listening to this podcast, I think you're already open to learn more about it.
If you came this far, then I think you are already vegan, or you are in the journey, you're in the process, or you're just too interested in us and you want to know about our story of how we went to a
and
vegan
just
diet.
watch the documentaries we talked about. Watch more. There are so many free documentaries to find online on
Right.
YouTube, or if you have a description on Netflix, there's so many there to find.
Yeah.
Just if you want to learn more about it, just watch those documentaries and be open to it, to learn it.
Yeah, I think that's a fitting end, as you said, like just be more open to it.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say to our listeners, if you have any comments on any section of this podcast, please let us know through our social media or email us at heygroentje, that is HEYGROENTJE @gmail.com. We would be glad to answer your questions, and we are looking forward to the next podcast.